Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day 2 of Develop Brighton 2024. We've got a fun-filled day ahead of us today. Lots of great talks. I hope you make the most of it and enjoy all the other events that are going on in and around the city today. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage our first keynote of today, and that's Ella Romanos, Shuhei Yoshida, and Greg Rice. So give them a round of applause, please.
Thanks, Andy. Well, welcome, everyone. I hope you're all looking forward to this as much as I am. Welcome to the Sporting Indies and Creativity and Game Development with Shuhei Yoshida and Greg Rice. Shu and Greg are going to talk today about giving you... They're going to give you insights into their experiences with game development. We're going to find out what they believe makes a great game and how you can position yourselves for success. They're also going to talk about PlayStation and the support that they give to indies, and generally hopefully give you as much general insight and tips as possible to leave you feeling informed and inspired. Just before we start, I'd love to know here, how many of you are indies? Oh, good amount. How many of you are other developers? Who's working on console? Mobile? PC? Everyone else? Cool. All right. Well, let's kick things off. I'm sure Shu needs no introduction, but please introduce yourself.
Yep. Good morning, and thank you for coming to our very early in the morning session. I know it's hard to wake up in these events. This is my, kind of short description of my career. I joined Sony Corporation in 1986, so it's a long time with Sony. And I had such a lucky hit with Ken Kutaragi's team. I joined in February of 1993. So that's before the first PlayStation was launched. So when I joined, the Ken's team was just engineers making the first PlayStation. And my first job as the first non-technical guy in the team was to try to convince Sony to keep investing in us. So when the Sony Computer Entertainment was formed in 1993, I got the employee number 32. So I'm a very old timer still, in the company. And I started in the what we call now third-party relations team, helping publishers in Japan. But I moved to game development, and 2008, I got the job of president of Worldwide Studio. So doing first-party development for a long time, since 1996. And these are the games that I got involved, produced, or studio managed, or being a president to oversee the development. And 2019, I got this lucky job again of helping indies for the last 5 years. So that's my career. And Greg?
Greg, what about you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Greg Rice. I've been in the industry for 16 years now. I've been super lucky with my career to work with awesome mentors like Shu and Tim Schafer and Seamus Blackley. But yeah, I think dialing back before that, I had a very windy path to get into games. I went to school for music originally, my degree's in music. Went to medical school after that, so a hard left turn, and then another one to get into games. And kind of picked up and drove out to LA to figure something out. And actually, the first game I worked on was Guitar Hero World Tour and Guitar Hero Metallica, just as a tester, paying bills while I applied everywhere I could and tried to figure something out. And then kind of landed my first real job at Creative Artists Agency in LA, which is kind of the biggest Hollywood talent agency, mostly known, I think, outside of LA for like Hollywood stuff, actors and directors and musicians and sports. But I was in the game department there. So I got to work with Seamus Blackley, who was head of Xbox and helped create the original Xbox and moved to this kind of agency role. So it's a great way to get in the industry. I got to meet a lot of people, learn a lot about kind of the business of games. which was very different back then, and try to help shift some of the then standards for game development deals in favor of devs and try to make a little bit better game dev deals for people. We worked with kind of larger AAA teams at the time, so things like Harmonix and selling them to MTV, helping Respawn get set up out of Activision, and Tim Schafer and Double Fine. So that's how I got to meet him through Brutal Legend and helping get that set back up with the publisher at EA. And I just hit it off really quickly with Tim. He was always a hero of mine, like I think probably a lot of you in here. I grew up playing his games and just was always really drawn to the kind of style of games he made. So convinced him to somehow let me move over into Double Fine. I was there for 10 years, and that was a super magical place and special place to kind of learn about the craft of making games. Through a lot of different lenses. So I kind of started in production, was assistant producer on games like Costume Quest and Stacking, did some writing and design on games like Iron Brigade, and then ultimately helped launch the Kickstarter campaign for Double Fine Adventure to make Broken Age with Tim, which is a dream. Getting to make an adventure game with Tim Schafer was super cool. We documented the whole thing on camera. So if you guys haven't seen the Double Fine Adventure and want to see me look really stressed out producing my first game and building a publishing studio, you should watch it. It's really cool. But yeah, about halfway through my time at Double Fine, started spinning up a lot of the need for more kind of publishing internally with things like the crowdfunding, forcing that, and ultimately spin up a publishing label, Double Fine Presents, at Double Fine as well. So we publish games like Gang Beasts and Knights and Bikes, and a really great portfolio of games there. My time at Double Fine ended with the sale to Microsoft, so I helped manage that process, and ultimately there wasn't a huge need for kind of the business and marketing stuff that I'd moved more into, so it was a nice natural transition into PlayStation 4 years ago, getting to work with Shuhei as the head of PlayStation creators, and now in a consulting role with game content teams.
So it was just 1 month's difference when I got the job of helping indies and Greg joined. And we've known each other for a long time. And when I got the job of helping indies, Greg sent me email that, can you say something good about me because I'm applying for the position? Because Microsoft acquired Double Fine. Greg was doing publishing, and Microsoft stopped publishing through Double Fine, so he lost his job. So it was very lucky. Thanks for Microsoft to give him money and give him chance to join me.
Yeah.
So for the last 5 years, we've been working together in this indie scene, and actually, this is the very first time somehow that both of us on the same stage talking about. I've done many talks, and Greg has done some, but we never.
It's the first together.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
yeah, so it's very, very exciting. Yeah,
it's amazing
to be here.
Well, there's some amazing games there. Brutal Legend is one of my absolute favorites. So yeah. Right. Well, talking about games then, what have you guys been playing recently?
Oh yeah, you got it first.
Yeah. So. For the last couple of years, there are many great games came out, but I picked, and Greg picked 3 games each that we really love. First one is Before Your Eyes. Has anyone played this game? Yeah, this game came out a few years ago on PC, and using the webcam to every time you blink, the story moves forward. And it's a very short game. You can finish in 2 or 3 hours. And it's a story about a boy, coming close to the end of his life, looking back on his life, and from the baby. And every time you play a blinks, the story moves forward. It's very interesting gimmick. But the reason I really like this game is not about the gimmick, but about the story. After 2 or 3 hours, you just can play through in one sitting. Almost everybody cries. Yeah, I cried playing game only twice. In my long life as a gamer or the game industry people, and this was my second time. So when the game can create such a strong emotion, it's something so special to me anyway, and I recommend anyone, especially when you play in PSVR 2. PSVR 2 has eye tracking, So in the you can see the scene from the boy's perspective, and every time you bring the scene moves forward. One time the boy was sick, had a disease, and when he was lying on the bed, and he heard his parents talking about his thing outside his thing. But if you blink, you move the scene forward, so you miss the conversation. Anyway, I highly recommend.
But now I need to know what was the other game that made you cry.
Everybody wants to know, right?
Oh yeah, so the very first game, I had tears in my eyes. At the end of the game was Journey. I was so lucky to be involved, helping the game company to set up their team studio within the Santa Monica studio when I was overseeing the US development. And the Journey was their third game. And Geneva-chan and the team had very clear idea what they wanted to do. And if people play Journey, right? Yeah. So this was another game of the year game. And this was another short game. Maybe 3 hours you can play through. It's a beautiful game, but at the end you realize this is about a human life, a person's life. And toward the end of the game, I was thinking about, then, this is my grandmother a couple of years ago, before, and I had tears in my eyes. So these, games made really, really strong emotions in me. Okay, so the second type of game I really love, came out in the last few years. Inscription. Who played Inscription? Yeah, it's one of my recent favorite. The game is about like a deck builder, card game, and it's great card game. But the thing about this game is the game is not what it looks. It's a card game. It's a fun card game. But when you play the game, there are a few moments that you go, what? Really? What's going on? Multiple times. So it's really hard to talk about this game because I don't want to spoil anyone, but I really, really highly recommend this game. Give you surprises multiple times. And at the end of the game, you really, really enjoy. Another type of this type of game is Doki Doki Literature Club. Has anyone played? So it looks like a girls game, dating game, but it's a horror game. Publisher described it's a horror game, but it looks like a girls game. And the game starts as like a dating sim, and I cannot talk about what about that game. That game is special, but that's another of my favorite. And the third game is Synapse or Synapse. I heard in the UK it's called Synapse. Synapse.
I'm right. I'm not going mad. Yeah, okay.
Synapse.
At the moment, Synapse.
And in the US it's called Synapse.
Really?
Or the other way around. Yeah. So the game came out last year for PSVR 2. It takes advantage of the eye tracking. I really like games that uses new tech and create really new game experiences that never existed before. So this game is a 3D action shooter in the VR. You'll be, fighting, shooting the enemies. But when you can just look at things, like look at the object and grab the object and throw it to enemy, or grab the enemy and throw it up and shoot the enemy. Or if the enemy is at the high ground, you can grab the enemy and bring it down. It's so fun. You feel like you have this special ability, like that never been done without this feature. So that's another type of game that I like.
Amazing.
Okay, Greg, start.
Yeah. What about you, Greg?
I'll jump in here. This is very hard for me. I made like 3 versions of this slide. I play a lot of games, so does Shu, but try to whittle it down to 3, starting with Animal Well, which is pretty popular right now. So how many people played Animal Well? Yeah, it's kind of part of the zeitgeist right now, so I don't really say too much about it. But this is Billy Blasio, a shared memory out of Chicago. Pretty much a one-person studio, which I'm always impressed by. People are able to do that. And it's published by Donkey's company, Big Mode. I think the things that drew me to this game are, one, just the striking art style. I love when there's a game that just a video or a GIF or a screenshot, you can really tell that that is that game, and that game alone. It has a look that's unlike anything else. And this game definitely has that. We were really struck by just the visual design of the game. But then obviously, this game's design is really interesting as well. The fact that it kind of lets you go in many directions, play the game in kind of a couple different orders, and see the game at your own pace in your own way. But then also there's this like layer of puzzles to the game where, you know, you might finish the game at 50%, and then there's things to find and explore, and that people will be finding in this game for years to come, it sounds like. So that's one of my favorites so far this year. Viewfinder, I think some of the team from Sad Owl Studios might be here from Scotland, and it's just published by Thunderful. And for this one, I think I'm always just drawn to games that have interesting, innovative mechanics. And this is definitely one. And one that I think really explains itself well from a video or a GIF of this as well. So if you haven't played Viewfinder, it's a game where you can take a photo within the world and place that photo in the world and moving through the photo into that environment. And so that's used for a lot of interesting puzzles and kind of tweaked in various ways, but that's just such a striking mechanic that I hadn't seen before, and something that I think is really evocative to people even just through video.
The game got BAFTA, right? This year, and you should watch the acceptance speech of that. That was amazing. Yeah.
It's a great one. And the last one I thought was Vinba from V-Side Games in Toronto. And I think with this one, I just love when games have something very personal to say and feel very personal to the developer, and something that like only they could make. And this is very much that. It's a story about a first-generation immigrant from Indian parents, kind of struggling with his culture and learning to love it through food. And it really much felt like it was something that was born from this person, and only they could tell that story in the way that they did. I think the other thing about this game I really liked is the narrative editing. I think that's a real challenge for a lot of indies, is a lot of games are very wordy and maybe not the best and on the dialogue front. This game really felt like it had been edited and pared down to kind of like its core. I think the game itself is only about an hour and a half or 2. I played it in one sitting. So I also like that when there's something that doesn't overstay its welcome and really kind of makes the most of the time it has.
Yeah, like a part of fun of my job is to be able to visit many different parts of the world. I've been to India 3 times for the last 3 years, and met many developers in India. And for example, some of the games they are making are really drawing inspirations from the Indian culture or Indian food, or Indian mythology, or even social problem in India. Really unique perspectives. So you get to learn and hear about the things that you may not be familiar. And being a Japanese, I always felt fortunate that through manga or games or anime, lots of people in the world are familiar with Japanese culture. So same way, because now it's very easy to make games. Start making games. Anyone in the world just download Unity or whatever and start making games. So these voices from different parts of the world, or different, kind of people who have different perspectives, these games come out, every month. It's a part of fun.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing I'd say is, the volume of games coming out is so great now. I think everything we listed was in the last year or 2, but we had versions of these slides where all the games were from the last month. So there's something literally every week that is worth checking out, worth playing, and I hope you all are playing a lot of games like I know we do.
Well, I guess the next question is, what makes a great game for you?
What's your take?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a technical mastery across all the different crafts involved in making games that back in the day you were able to kind of lean into one if you had a really good art style or maybe a really good game mechanic that maybe was enough. I think now that there's so many games out there, you kind of have to excel across the board in most cases. So really having kind of interesting, beautiful art style that stands out from the crowd and is instantly recognizable, trying to have mechanical gameplay hooks that are unique and different, and having that kind of personality behind it that makes it feel like it's something that is coming from a place of creativity and passion. Would be
to me,
short answer.
to me, it's always about how it plays. I always, the uniqueness of this media is interactivity. So when you press the button, what happens, that interactivity is so core of this medium. So when I was managing first party or helping indies, giving them feedback, the first thing I do is just pick up the controller and play the game and point out issues that developers may not be seeing. So that's a very, very fundamental thing that every game has to, do first.
Yeah, I think there's like a self-awareness that's good for people to have too. So understanding like what it is that makes your game really special and being able to lean into that and make that really kind of stand out. Because a lot of people that have a hard time describing their game to you succinctly. So somebody who really understands what they're trying to make and kind of has a very clear vision about that and lean into that specific element that makes their game unique and special.
And the iteration, right? The iteration, polish, and testing. So, any game development, you really should be showing your game to your friends or family or whoever. Bring your game to events and watch how people play, because people don't understand the game that as you do. So it's always this repetition of iteration to improve your game. That's so critical for any game development.
Yeah, I think there's also just the people, right? Like creatives are the ones who are making these things, and it's like important to remember that it's the people behind the games that are making these great. So you see games coming from studios that are inspired, right? People who like working together, people who are collaborative with each other, and kind of lifting each other up and filling kind of gaps in their own skills.
Yeah, so the chemistry of people in the team is so important. The experience of teams working together, throughout the multiple title makes it really efficient and effective for everyone in the team to be able to contribute to the game.
Yes, like the common traits that you have between when you look at game developers. I mean, are there other common traits and things like that you see in the great game developers, I guess, that you work with?
There are many different types of great developers. I had the pleasure to work with some out there kind of visionary persons, have very clear idea. For example, Fumito Ueda-san, right? So I had the fortune to help him develop 3 games. And the first and second game, he took 4 years. The third game, he took 10 years. And the 4th game that I'm not involved, he may be taking even longer time, but I'm not involved. But for the first 3 games, he creative directed. Every time he starts the project, he created the short video just by himself. And when you compare that to the final game, it's amazing how similar they are. So he has such a great idea what he wants to accomplish. Of course, some of the features are missing or changed, throughout the development, but the core things that he wanted to accomplish for these 3 games equal Shadows of Colossus and Last Guardian. He had a clear idea at the beginning, and he showed that he created the video to communicate his vision to the almost team members, and also it helps to create a beautiful video when he pitches to the company for the funding. But because he has clear idea and he has such a high standards, the team has to try to achieve that. And oftentimes, his vision is slightly above the capability of that hardware of that time. So 2 of these projects, we had to move the platform from PS1 to PS2 or PS3 to PS4. But anyway, so there are certain type of creators like Ueda-san or Kojima-san or Miyazaki-san or Kazunori Yamauchi, the creator of Gran Turismo, has a very clear vision.
Yeah, I think strong creatives like focused on creativity is probably my answer as well. And I think that manifests itself in a few different ways. One is trying to do something new and innovative. I think a lot of people in games are chasing fads and ideas that have shown success. And when you're doing that, oftentimes you're kind of already behind. You need to be thinking out like in the future a little bit more than that. But I think Tim handled it in a little bit different way. He very much has certain things, writing and story and characters, that he has really strong feelings about, but very much ran the studio in a super collaborative way. I think that's what I really love to see, is when everybody really feels like they have a seat at the table, everybody has ideas that are interesting and can be thrown in the mix, and it really is a group of people coming together and kind of filling the gaps in their knowledge and kind of making a game together that is better than they would be able to make on their own. Ultimately, there are one-person studios out there like Billy and the Animal Well team, so it's possible. But I think being really realistic about where your gaps are and where there's opportunity to kind of level up your vision with collaborating with others. So teams that are super collaborative and focused on like employees and their employee health and their mental health, and really taking that seriously as well, working together as a team.
And I've seen many successful developers who have one strong creative lead and one strong producer, and they are at the same level, almost fighting each other all the time. And that's really healthy. When the creative is too strong, the game never gets finished. When the producer is too strong, the game's, creative's not as strong. So, having 2 of them, trusting each other, but, butting heads all the time, creates really great results.
Yeah, a similar thing is having that kind of place where everybody can kind of air their views and really feel they're part of the team, but also, that's okay. Well, we talked, I think it's very impressive. How many people would have worked on a game for 10 years and what they came out with at the end would still be what they started with? That's pretty impressive. So, on the reverse of that, what mistakes do you often see developers make?
Yeah, I think scope creep is one, right? Like, it's easy to let a game balloon and grow. And so having a really succinct vision and something that's like possible to achieve and see quickly on screen, rather than like kind of endlessly dragging out these projects or ballooning scope. I think you see a lot of small indies starting up, and their first game they want to make is something narrative with a lot of animation or an open world or something like that. So starting small and trying to really have a clear vision is probably one. Yeah.
Or not asking enough money, right? Yeah, when you are not sure about your concept, you may ask for a small amount of money, but you are trying to create the partnership with whoever that you are talking to, the publisher or investor, and you have to achieve, deliver your result, so that both of you can be successful. So every game development has encountered problems. So you really always have to ask for enough money to be able to overcome these issues.
Yeah, I think one of the things I see happen a lot with indies specifically is just going really heads down on development and just focusing on your game first and foremost, which obviously for the majority of development is necessary. But a lot of the indies who are self-publishing and need to handle their kind of marketing beats and their promotion are leaving that till kind of late in the game, kind of overlooking things later, like not starting playtesting early enough, or not thinking about your console port work, or underestimating the amount of time involved in finalizing a game. But I think just generally, just getting wrapped up in it and focusing on a game and forgetting that you need to tell the world about it throughout.
Yeah. Getting feedback is so important that we talked about, and doing iteration is so important. But sometimes by showing some publishers and scouts are looking for great new games, and sometimes you may be found by these companies who have money and help you to finance your game.
You talked a bit earlier about, inspiration through culture and things like that. I mean, where do you think the best inspiration comes from, like the developers you work with and,
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing too, is a lot of people only look to games for inspiration. So you can really feel that at times. And when you see something that, looks outside to other forms of media or is inspired from just your day-to-day life, I think that's always really powerful and breaks through a really insular industry that's often looking just at itself.
Yeah, some developers are able to describe their game or goal of their game, what kind of emotions they want to create, what kind of experience they want to create from the player instead of talking about the genre or, feature. So they have, really clear ideas.
Yeah. I talked about this a little bit earlier too, and maybe biased a bit because of working at such a narrative-heavy studio with Double Fine. But I think that story and character are really important in kind of creating a world that you want to live in. But not every game needs to have a ton of story and narrative, and I think a lot of them are overly wordy and kind of long-winded in general. So people trying to find ways to kind of edit that down and maybe focus on the strengths of your game if that's
There's so many games created, and there'll be even more games will be created. The tools get better, and so you really have to focus on what's your unique strengths. What makes your games stand out. And that's the same with what kind of inspiration you get from that other people may not have an access.
Yeah, and I think that's both for development of the game, but also, talking about your game with platforms and such. We've gotten a lot of pitches where the first 15 minutes are lore dumps about the world and the characters and the story, and it's only 20 minutes in that we're like, oh, and this is a card game. And I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't even realize that. So, leading with mechanics as well.
And what about the teams themselves? You've obviously talked about, examples where everybody, can really get involved in the process. What are the kind of mistakes you see across, building teams and, having a team that is the most effective as possible?
Well, it's hard to build a team, right? When you put more people than more than you need at the very beginning, it's really difficult when you find out that the people interaction doesn't really work. So you have to start over or like that.
And what do you think of the challenges then that indies are facing today?
Discoverability.
So many games. Too many games. That's great. That because cream of top will come up. But when making games is hard. That everybody knows. But even when you make a great game, getting your game noticed is even harder sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we think about it a lot, obviously, as a platform, trying to figure out ways to spotlight content that we think our fans will like. But there's just so many games, so figuring out how to break through that. And I think that comes back again to that marketing piece of how are you selling the world on your game and sharing news about your game and trying to build wish lists and excitement throughout development. And a lot of these things are can be signaled really early on. So, wish lists are a really strong indicator of your game's potential success. And if you're seeing challenges there, it's probably something to think about earlier in development. Just not leaving that for last for sure. But I think that's the biggest thing is figuring out how to get word out there about your game and get it out there early, so that you have that kind of audience at launch day and can trick the algorithms and kind of get in front of people.
Would everybody agree? Discoverability, hardest thing?
Yeah. Obviously, financing is always a challenge. People are always looking for money. There's a lot of games being made, and they always need money and time. I think there's luckily more and more places for that. It used to kind of just come from publishers, and in the world pre-digital download, it was a little bit different. I think a lot of Europeans are very lucky with the kind of financial support you can get from the government, which we do not have in the U.S. But I know it's a hustle, and so it's a lot of having to get yourself out there and try and spread word. Things like crowdfunding and Patreon and stuff like that have helped as well now too. But people are always trying to be creative about thinking about new ways to get your games financed.
Mm-hmm. And what about, I mean, self-publishing versus publishers? I mean, there's a lot of challenges if you're an indie particularly and going down the self-publishing route.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a case-by-case thing for studios, right? It's like, what are the things that you feel like you're really passionate about and want to be doing? Is there somebody who on your team is like a social media wizard and wants to be handling that? Then great. But yeah, I think a lot of times it's like there's a variety of ways to kind of swing the publishing of your game, whether it's a publisher or kind of piecemeal handling, just getting a marketing partner or a PR partner, or kind of what are the things that you feel like you need. And for a lot of studios, it's like, I just want to focus on my game. I don't want to do anything else. And that's great. Then I think it's find a partner to do it because it's a really important piece of it. But there's a lot of ways to kind of mix and match that if there are elements that your team can bring on as well.
Yeah, sometimes when the developer is successful, they want to start, helping other developers, by publishing or financing, giving them advice, and also seeking for these opportunities are really good.
Yeah, and also doing it yourself is fine too. Like, there's a lot of people who've been really successful, as long as you're like willing to kind of think about that throughout development and figure out when your key beats are coming and plan for that and have support in pushing that out. I think that can work as well. And there's a lot of companies that have spun up now that are purely kind of marketing and PR support for developers that are like that, want to have their name be self-published but have some support in the areas that they're lacking.
That kind of segues great into my next question. Let's talk a bit about PlayStation Indies. So, what are you both doing there, really? What sort of support are you doing to help developers directly?
Yeah, so this has been, for the last 5 years, we've been involved. It's a company-wide initiative, from the very operational thing to trying to improve our tools and the pipeline to get the games out. Or recently, for the first time, we changed so that developers can release the games globally at the same time. And you may say that you couldn't do that before, yeah, because the company PlayStation has very strong regional structure, and that was part of the strengths of PlayStation, to be able to understand different markets. But each region had different systems, and you had to learn the different tools and the process. As a publisher or developer, 3 times, and it's very, very inefficient and time consuming. And I'm sorry. And our people, the same thing. We are doing the same thing 3 times, but now it's fixed. Finally, so all these are small things, how to improve the time to, respond to the inquiries. Our team has a KPI to look at, to try to always see the, time of response come down. And, access to development kits, Greg actually started a couple of years ago that when you sign up as a new developer on PlayStation, we just send you the kit. No question asked, because it takes time to look at who you are. So Greg's idea, just send the kit. So PS5 kits are available when you sign up. And also, the very important thing, how to promote your game. We have a global team of people who are always look out for great games. And when these games come out on PlayStation, we try to help them put on our shows, or social media has lots of viewers, and put on the events, and like that. One was the store features. When your game is showing a good number of wish lists, like on Steam, our store team notice and try to promote it, when the games comes out. So all different kinds of.
Yeah, it was a really kind of multi-pronged approach trying to improve the process for publishing on PlayStation and the support for indies. And yeah, I think that's manifested in a lot of ways across the company. I think it started with trying to listen really hard. We've done a series of surveys of all of our partners, trying to understand where the kind of roadblocks are on the platform and the challenges people are facing, and have run that again yearly. So we're kind of tracking our progress throughout those things. It's nice to see some headway. But yeah, really a coordinated kind of approach with teams from marketing and PR and from our business side, our portfolio team, social teams, kind of all getting together and looking at the platform and where there have been challenges in publishing, but also in ways we can help kind of spread a light on indies, whether that's PlayStation Indies grids in the store or PlayStation Indie Days we run on our blog and social channels, just trying to find ways to talk about these games more often. Yeah.
What about Day of the Devs?
Oh, yes. And I have some side projects I do as well. Yeah, Day of the Devs we started 12 years ago at Double Fine. It's now become a nonprofit trying to just spotlight great games from around the world. It's always been something that's very philanthropic for us. It's like volunteer, always been nonprofit even before we're officially running as a nonprofit. But it's a series of events and digital events that we try to spotlight games through. And it kind of was born out of Double Fine and wanting to throw events for our fans and show our games, but ultimately looking for kind of more content to put in front of them as well to get them excited about. And it's really grown and taken on a life of its own. We've been really particular about not charging developers to show, handling all the kind of setup and logistics of running the event, and also making it free and open to the public. So it became a great community builder and really brought San Francisco together in the early days. And we've now kind of spread and started doing digital events with Summer Game Fest and Game Awards and a few other kind of satellite shows as well. So it's been a great way to kind of try and help promote other games in a very like focused on the developer and platform agnostic way. So
yeah, for the last couple of years, the digital show Day of Devs is positioned right after the big Summer Game Fest show, right? Yeah. So I think the viewership must be really high.
Yeah, that's really helped. The first events were always really public focused, and COVID really made us shift into that digital realm. But yeah, we've paired up with Jeff, and he brings a lot of eyeballs, and then we show them a lot of weird games. So it's worked out.
Sounds amazing. So, what advice for others in the room? Like, how can everybody support indies?
Buy their games, or wish list. When you see good games, go to the store page and wish list.
Yeah, I think coming to stuff like this is great. Like just sharing knowledge and sharing kind of lessons you've learned in making games with each other, and really trying to build local communities like this, and finding ways that you can do that in your own communities, I think is a big one too. But yeah, I know Shu and I both play a lot of games. I think that's something I see is something that might be a struggle for a lot of people in games. You're working on a game all day. It might be really hard and challenging. When you go home, it might not be the thing you want to do. So trying to kind of hold on to that love and passion for games and keep playing games and keep talking about games and sharing them with your friends, I think is a big one.
And talking to the developers through like their social channels, and they really love these feedback. Making games really hard, but when they hear that you love their games, they make the day so really helpful. I because I have many followers on Twitter. Every morning I wake up, when something wrong about PlayStation, anything, I find out, before anyone else. But most often, more than the issues, people say if something about PlayStation is great or they enjoy the games that I tweeted about, they say, they say they are having fun. So it's such a rewarding feeling to get the feedback like that. So everybody can do that to the developers that making your favorite games.
Yeah, and I think remembering that you guys have a lot of power together, right? I know there's a lot of like message boards and things where people are sharing kind of information about their businesses and things as well, and that can often lead to a lot of change in the industry. Just talking about the kind of deals that you're getting and things like that, and sharing that information with each other can really lead towards positive change in games business as well.
And what if people want to get involved? How do you get started as an indie?
Working with PlayStation.
There you go.
Yeah.
Get a free dev kit immediately.
Yeah, we have this portal, partners.playstation.net. So if you're not already signed up as a PlayStation developer and would like to learn more, this is the home for all of that and for getting those free dev kits and learning more about developing on PlayStation.
Yeah. And I think we have some of our members in this room.
Maybe?
Yeah, back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if if you have questions, talk to them.
Go bug them. Yeah.
If you wanna show your game, show them.
Yeah, we do always love playing games, and we want to hear about your games and know about them. So keep us in the loop and send us cool stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, both, and thank you everybody for joining us. I hope that was certainly inspired me, and I've got added games to my games list to play later.
Perfect.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.